David Ruckel, together with Daniela Waller, I don't know if I pronounce it correctly. And
I can introduce them.
Okay, and Robert Puger from the University of Applied Sciences Technicum Wien, so from Vienna, from Europe as well. They are presenting a paper on the impact of standardized university courses during the COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, they started from the Bologna process that aims at harmonizing academic programs, improving national and international comparability in European countries. Again, a European perspective, but it's so nice at this conference to have these multiple perspectives. And this leads to both centralized and decentralized initiatives to foster standardizing of course didactic. The current study reports on a certain university's initiative and its effect on teaching during the COVID-19 pandemic. The initiative focuses on harmonizing bachelor's degree programs to improve course quality, scalability, and general manageability on the one hand, and to reduce complexity, familiarization, and uncontrolled IS, as well as reduce process development on the other hand. So please, the floor is yours. You have half an hour, and I will inform you
20 minutes switch.
5 minutes.
So, good morning. Now you have to kind of follow me around the globe from Brazilian samba to a Viennese waltz. At least I hope so. I'd like to welcome you on behalf of my colleagues, Daniela Waller, Robert Bucher, and Alexandre Wölfle. They are all in my team, and I'm here for my university. It's the University of Applied Sciences, Technikum Wien. A phrase that's rather rough in German, if you're not a German native, because it would be Fachhochschule Technikum Wien. That's phonetically, I think, pretty rough for all the non-Germans. I'm gonna talk about the effects of a program that we had started, I would say 2 years ago, a program to standardize our courses for the whole university. So I kind of want to start with the Bologna process for all of you who are not Europeans. You have to imagine maybe 15 to 20 years ago, we haven't had any bachelor programs in the European Union, at least with some, but we had like diploma programs that directly led to a master's degree. So it was giving us a pretty hard time to introduce bachelor programs and dependingly master programs and PhD programs. So that's something that's rather new for us in Europe. So maybe 2 years ago, my university started a program to further harmonize and standardize courses within our bachelor programs. Let me give you a brief introduction of the university, just some key facts. We are a university of applied sciences, a little difference in Austrian and German-speaking countries between universities and universities of applied sciences. It mainly leads into a different that we are not allowed to have PhD programs and that universities have. We have 4,500 students. We are located in the capital of Austria. And we are the only University of Applied Sciences that is dedicated to technical subjects. So that's what we are. We have 12 bachelor programs, or one step back, we've got 4 faculties, electronic engineering, industrial engineering, life sciences, and computer science. They are subdivided into 6 departments, and I am roughly talking about the computer science department today. We have 12 bachelor programs, and we started to harmonize and standardize them. So the whole university is organized in a metrics style. So we do have our diploma programs that are kind of our products, with one manager responsible for the program. And on the other hand, we have university courses and internal and external lecturers. And they are organized in competence centers that are led by heads. And I'm head of Competence Center, Digital Enterprise, and User Experience. So all the courses that kind of are associated with the digital enterprise and user experience, all the lecturers teaching are concentrated in my Competence Center. And we serve the courses to the whole university. So the idea is that we just have, for example, one course for a whole uni dealing with introduction to programming. So it's not the way that like electronic engineering has their own course in introduction to programming. There is just one course. It's always the same course that the students are attending, no matter what bachelor program they are attending. That's the idea. So we keep the competence in the competence centers. We kind of develop our programs within these competence centers. And that gave us the opportunity to standardize those courses. So again, there's just one course, which is primarily organized in Moodle courses and who follows a more constructivistic design. So we've got a lot of flipped classroom and so on. So all of the courses have 5 European credits. All of the courses are organized in 7 blocks. Each and every block is organized in a self-study phase, in an on-site session, and in a session dealing with kind of application, homework, whatever. We are constantly evaluating this program because it was a huge program for the university, not only in finance, but also in workforce. It was giving us a hard time. Well, the whole program had a lot of bad propaganda, internal bad propaganda, because it was kind of on top of our daily work. We were used to doing research, we were used to teaching, we were used to setting up our courses, and in addition, we have to set up that standardized courses for the bachelor program. So we are constantly trying to evaluate it. And this little research project I'm presenting today is part of this ongoing evaluation process of the whole program. Speaking with my colleagues, we were thinking of whether it made a difference during teaching during COVID-19. So did it make a difference perceived by the lecturers? Whether you were teaching in a standardized format or teaching in a free format. And that's the aim of this little speech I've prepared for you. Because literature shows, I wouldn't say a lot, but at least some parts of literature deal with harmonizing bachelor courses, standardizing bachelor courses. But the problem is, we couldn't find one paper dealing with experience during that COVID-19 giving us a hard time. Switching from on-site teaching to online teaching within a week or 2 or 3. All of you who do a lot of teaching know that this was giving us a rather, I would say at least rough time. So, again, a lot of evaluation is done, a lot of research is done. Our Teaching and Learning Center, which is the Center for pedagogic and all the didactic style. Did some research on the effects of the standardization on the students, but they did not talk with the lecturers. And as they are within my team, my employees, I have to think what that all meant to them. So the research question was, what effects concerning the standardized course development were perceived by lecturers during COVID-19 pandemic? Some basic concepts that we applied for our standardization process. We kind of switched from a more behavioristic to a more constructivistic design within our lectures. So for those who are not into learning theory, constructivism, in short, means that we are using a lot of flipped classroom. Students work together in peer groups. They learn from each other. They kind of are enforced to be part of the learning process. So we work a lot with case challenges and all those stuff. And the lecturers play, I would say, a coaching, an enabling role in the game. We roughly applied 3 different kinds of blended learning. Prior to COVID-19, we were using an so-called enrichment concept. So the courses were basically on site, and there was just a little part that we kind of moved into Moodle courses and so on. It was roughly, I would say, a communication tool and a tool to handle over the presentation and to hand in the homework and all that stuff. During COVID-19, we had to switch to the very right picture, like a virtualization concept. We had to move a lot into self-study phases. But the goal is the integration concept. That's the concept we are applying within our standardized courses. So we have a flipped classroom design. We have an integration of online parts and integrated on-site parts. So the focus of this little qualitative study is, as mentioned before, the Department of Computer Science. And just to give you some statistics, we are serving 22,500 hours of lecture a year. About 8,500 belongs to my competence center. So that's what we are like delivering throughout the whole uni, just to give you some facts. Talking about methodology, we've had a 3-step methodology, starting with a little literature review. Then we made 10 semi-structured interviews, which were fully transcribed and analyzed using qualitative data analysis. When doing the literature review, we found, I would say, maybe 50-ish scientific papers dealing with standardized course design, harmonized course design, and so on, but not a single paper that dealt with the effect during COVID-19. So there's a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot, but there is research done on harmonizing, but not effects that harmonizing has in times of crisis. So from my point of view, my kind of expert area is digitalization and digital transformation, and also digital resilience. So none of the papers dealt with making companies, making universities kind of resilient against crisis. So that's just maybe one starting point that we have. We were talking to 10 lecturers, 5 internal, 5 external lecturers. We could use 9 of those interviews to qualitatively analyze it. With that process of qualitative data analysis for all of you who are not into behavioristic or qualitative interview design. We kind of started with defining our research question. We inductively designed our category system to analyze the data. We started with coding. 3 colleagues coded. Then we kind of had one evaluation loop to evaluate whether the category system was correct. Then we finished the coding. Then we did some reliability check. We measured the intercoder reliability, which was, I would say, at least okay. And then we had some interpretation of the results. And this is what we have now. These are the results that are, I wouldn't call them groundbreaking, but at least they were a kind different from what I expected. Because standardized, harmonized courses, just one step back, I'm sorry. All of the interviewees that we had taught harmonized and non-harmonized courses within the same semester during COVID-19. So that was the kind of process of choosing them. They should have had the same experience or both experiences in the same semester, teaching the harmonized standardized course, which is primarily, well, kind of structured, and their own course design they were used to. Even though COVID-19 kind of moved them into an online setting overnight, more or less, they still think that standardized, harmonized courses deliver less flexibility in the way of teaching. So they kind of found themselves confronted with fewer options, which is rather interesting. I mean, it gave them a rather hard time moving to an online setting, but still, they would have liked more flexibility in teaching. Teaching standardized and harmonized courses had less effort for lecturers in organizing. I mean, that's also kind of weird, isn't it? I mean, one lecturer would still have to kind of move into that course structure, but still it's less effort than teaching your course you're teaching for about 10 years. Harmonized courses are not easy to teach if the lecturers were not involved in the process of designing that harmonized course. They require a high level of self-discipline from the students, at least according to the lecturers. The results from our survey that we have done with our students show, I would say, a little different picture, or draw a little different picture. And what makes me upset is that using those harmonized, standardized courses made our lecturers feel less important in the whole game. And that's what I have to deal with, because they are in my team, they are my employees. I have to have happy and good lecturers. I don't want them to feel less important. I want them to feel like well supported, resilient, and so on, but not less important. So we kind of derived some implications for us, some points of discussion, some points that I would like to discuss with you. I think we have to move our harmonized and standardized courses into a little less rigid design, I would say. I think we have to have a less strict definition what learning requirements are. We have to foster our students to find their own methods. We have to open and widen the pool of didactic, which is again giving me a hard time because I have to decide when harmonization ends and like freedom begins. What I don't want is having again this kind of weird and broad scope of lectures dealing with the same topic. I mean, imagine teaching project management in the different bachelor programs. I do want my students to know what a project management process is, what agility is, and so on. And we have to integrate more face-to-face classes. Just a little limitation. What we already know, we've had one further cycle of evaluation, is that all these measures are much more important for our full-time students, as we do have both. We have kind of daytime students and we have nighttime students. And the full-time students or the daytime students usually are the full-time students, and these are the ones that we have to focus on. So, thank you.
Thank you. If there are questions? A question from the audience? I have one. So, what do you think is the future ahead? I mean, we have been discussing. So for those connected online, what should we expect in the near future? I mean, we had so many issues going on due to the pandemic. Of course, it's this idea of standards and constructivism, sometimes is a bit in contradiction. So how can we again find the proper such a balance that could help our students, of course. I don't know if you need, I think.
Shall I use this one?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that we have to switch our focus. We have to change our focus from KPIs like efficacy and efficiency to more future-oriented KPIs like resilience. The goal of harmonizing bachelor courses should not be being more efficient, more effective, but should be delivering better quality, delivering flexibility, delivering resilience to the whole organization. I think that's what we have to do.
Yeah, that's what I think. Actually, thank you so much. So there's a question.
Just one question. I know you were talking about your staff as far as lecturers. What other type of morale boosting, thought provoking ideas do you have to just keep them engaged?
Are we talking about leadership?
Yes. Which is real, is reality. Which I appreciate your transparency.
I think.
Don't worry,
I
get it.
It's actually the thing that I spent most of the time with, because I've spent like 9 months of getting my employees back to their offices. So this was I would say a rather emotional thing. So next I have to think of how to get them doing their work again, not only in a process-oriented way, but also again in an enabling way. Well, actually, I have to say I don't know. I really have to. I have to talk to them a lot. I have to give them opportunities to still develop into hybrid settings, to get clearance into what is done at home, what is done on site. And I would say I'm just looking for the right metrics. So I think that's one of the main challenges that we have.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you again.